enjoyed the learning through LearnX, and I have learned a lot, and it has increased my potential of teaching in the class.
So in my school, a lot of teachers and me included, we
Manash, your cursor cannot leave from the video. Can you click on the video again?
applied and participated in this program. And every morning when the question time to deliver the question was there, we would be so excited and we would run here, there, and sit with our either PCs or tablets and to do that.
The genuineness of the learning is taken care by learners through various measures, which I could not observe in other platforms where I have done the different courses. Thank you for getting me associated with learning.
It was indeed a great experience to learn from LearnX platform. The quality of content is really remarkable. All the modules are very thoughtfully designed, be it program content or UI, IX, everything was really impactful.
After this course, it enabled teachers to discover, unearth, and enrich students to become active learner, understand, and participate in the world around them. I must recommend all teacher community to do this course because it helps a lot in better understanding of today learning issues.
Without a doubt, I would recommend these sessions to other educators as it will enhance their teaching methods and also improve student-teachers relationship. These sessions have been contributed to my professional growth and my ability to make a positive impact on my students' life. Thank you.
The session was very useful and interactive and has given lots of knowledge about empowerment.
It is a good certification program which helped me a lot in professional development. I understood that how to deal with people with special need, not to be very rough and rude with them, but I got the skill to handle them softly. And it is a good certification program which it has given a very positive impact on my professional life, and I will be surely recommending this program to other educators.
LearnX has enabled me to add transformative aspect of my teaching methodology. Thus, I found it very useful to apply its technology in my classroom, and I have better outcomes from the students.
This learning journey made me to think in different aspects and made me to relearn few methodologies in my teaching. The best thing in this platform is the quiz. In general, we'll get the questions from video or any PPTs. But here, the questions are very practical, which we are facing in our day-to-day life. That made me to think very, very well.
We are certainly able to focus and cater each and every child in a different manner. Also, it has positively impacted my interaction with the students, which was somewhere different from now. I'm able to reach out every child personally with different aspects.
This is a wonderful platform for the educators to think deeply about the practices they are following and where they need to go and what are the needs of the children, so that they can bring transformation journey with the right attitude and mental approach towards students.
I was captivated by the exceptional quality of the videos and the wealth of information presented in a manner that can only be described as impeccable. This key insight has become my guiding principle, driving me to share knowledge in a manner that aligns with my students' preferences and fosters their personal growth.
Absolutely, without a doubt, I wholeheartedly recommend the Education Master Series to my fellow educators. This program is a treasure trove of knowledge and the skills that can empower educators to make a lasting impact on the lives of their students.
Thanks, I am inspired to bring this back to the work and to my life. This was very well done presentation, good speakers and PowerPoint, well organized, very informative.
I was very much lucky to have the classes of LearnX. All the classes of LearnX were so amazing that all these classes will be very useful in my profession.
It helped me a lot to bring inclusiveness in the classroom and build an energetic environment among the students. The classes were so arranged that everybody can spare very easily 10 to 15 minutes in a day as per the availability of time. I would suggest every educator to go through this program. And once again, I would like to thank LearnX for providing me such an opportunity to learn these things. Thank you. Thank you so much, LearnX. Thank you very much.
I think LearnX deserves an appreciation. Thank you so much.
to support us.
Truly appreciate the efforts and initiatives of LearnX.
Hoping and awaiting for new learning experience with LearnX. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our LearnX webinar on empowering child well-being, tackling anxiety and depression, which is also a part of our holistic health transformation webinar series. So, let me begin by introducing the panel, the speakers that we have here, as well as moderator. So, firstly, we have Dr. Ong, and he is a senior consultant and chief of the Child Guidance Clinic and the IMH Institute of Mental Health Singapore, with a lot of experience, very dedicated in research and advocacy in the field of child mental health. Okay, and upcoming next we have Mr. Anil Kumar, which is the principal of DPS Faridabad, Delhi Public School Faridabad, and with a lot of experience, 32 years of experience in the education field. And he has been dedicated in applying his own innovative approach in the academic landscape and championing some very innovative projects, such as the projects like Udaan for girls' education, for example. So upcoming next, we have Mr. Subram from the which is the innovation lead from the Health Innovation AIM NITI Aayog. So he is a dynamic professional with a whole range, a lot of experience and background from the IT and social sectors. And he has been also recognized with awards like Chairman's Excellence Award. And he's not just an achiever, but also very passionate in sports as well. Okay, so next we have Asia Champs, which is a certified professional coach and as well as a change practitioner, having 17 years of experience across many different countries. And she is also specializing in growth mindset, work performance, and leadership training as well. And upcoming next, we have Natalia, which is a concert pianist and educator who holds the highest degree in classical piano performance, also recognized nationally and internationally. And she's a sought-after performer and teacher as well, making a very significant impact around the world of classical music. And upcoming next, we have our very special younger speaker, Jaya, a 14-year-old student of Air Force School, Johari. She is actually been doing a lot of things in the entrepreneur and business landscape as well. She is actually a founder of Quish, and which is dedicated in mentally supporting children's which is facing some mental health issue in a very innovative manner. Okay, and last but not least, we have CK. We call him as CK, Chandrakan Singh, which is the managing director of LearnX. And his passion and vision made all of us here today, transforming the education, driving LearnX to collaborate with so many different prestigious institutions and expert leaders, helping to shape a better learning environment for our kids. Now, without further ado, let's embark on this journey and let us start deep dive into the topic. So over to you, CK.
Thank you, William. Thank you for the introduction. Very nervous again. Such a exclusive panel. People from around the world and different fields of experience. It's literally, I would say, an honor for me to be a part of this panel right now, and being able to lead through the journey, which is a very sensitive topic. At times, just a disclaimer. Some of us may react differently to what we speak today on this webinar, but it's all from our good heart. We're trying to create an awareness among everyone. We know these are very hard-hitting, sensitive topics. We all go through it in some part of our lives. But here's an opportunity to hear from the most exclusive or widest possible range, I can say. We have absolutely expertise from IMH Singapore. Dr. Ong, I really love listening to you. We did 2 of the series before, and You were part of one of them, and I really enjoyed my conversation. I look forward to having a great conversation on this. Then we have the place where everybody goes to learning, which is school. And Anil sir, you're a big mental health evangelist. I know you've promoted through and through the need for mental health much earlier than any other school in India. Your school is one of the first one to be certified on mental health. All teachers have been trained. I've got Asia, which I met in Singapore, and she is a life coach. And I feel everyone needs a life coach, whether himself or outside. She's brilliant again with her work, and I look forward to again having a great conversation. I've got Shubham here, and I really want to hear him out today. How at national level there's an initiatives being taken, or what is in his mind, what he thinks can make a difference in children and their healthcare and mental status today. Then I've got Natasha, I call her. Natasha is okay if I say Natasha right on the call, right? Know her for nearly 20 years. What she's doing is very unique. Through music, transforming lives of people. And so we'll hear more how it changes through her academy, her trainings, her teachings, what does she experience all across. And Jaya, I'm so impressed by you. You are one of the biggest influencers here. Everyone will learn from you on this call. I can tell you that. So you're our chief guest, okay? So remember this. You're the center of what we're doing today here. So don't be under pressure, okay? I know you thrive under pressure. I've seen you do extremely well. But today is day where everyone is around you, and luckily on my screen you're right in the center of my squares. So all about you, your age, your teenagers, your colleagues, your friends around. Let's take back something, learning from you, and if we're going wrong somewhere, please stop us, okay? If we judge you wrongly, please stop us. So with that, I will open the forum. I will start with Dr. Ang first, okay? Dr. Ang, because the most I would say cynical way, or in a very light way, we use these two words in our life: depression and anxiety, right? If I have a low day, I would end up calling I'm depressed, or if I see someone shrugging the shoulders and walking around not in the mood that I want them to see it, I would eventually say, hey, look, you look depressed, what's wrong? And then equally for anxiety, that especially in our families, everybody does tell the other person that you've got anxiety issues, you're asking too many questions, and or you get irritated with something which I come back. So I really want to understand with you in a few words from you, how does what is depression and what is anxiety, and we should be worried about it, we know that, but what is exactly as a definition at your end, as a clinical side of it?
Right. Hi, CK. Thank you for the introduction. Thanks to William too for the kind introduction. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm really excited because this is like a very international collaboration among key stakeholders in the landscape of youth mental health. So we have clinicians, we have entrepreneurs, we have educators, and coaches, so on and so forth. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think CK, you're spot on. One wonders whether are we using the word anxiety and depression a bit too much, a bit too loosely. I mentioned before in my previous webinar, people were complaining they were stressed without knowing actually what stress was about, and now there's a move towards, oh, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm bipolar, without actually knowing what they meant. I think this was largely because of misinformation or lack of information. There's also a lot of over-identification of behaviors, of symptoms that they see or they experience, and with the influence of social media, kids are just more likely than ever before to say, "Hey, I think I have that," But I guess it's a good problem because they are now more acutely aware of whether they have a mental health issues. I think it's important as part of overall mental health literacy. This is where mental health literacy comes in, is to really educate our children, or even our schools and our greater public, that not all symptoms actually constitute a disorder. If you look at the DSM-5 criteria, which is like our our the book that we go to have a listing of all the mental health disorders, they do have very stringent criteria. For example, in the severity of the symptoms, the duration of symptoms, how pervasive it is, and whether it actually impairs your personal functioning as a student or as an adult at work or as a family member, and your interaction with friends and family members as well. So all these criteria have to be fulfilled, right? So
before you identify them.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So I guess this what this webinar here today is about. Thank you.
So take away from this straight away, right? Don't use these words very casually. And it's not that you categorize people, you identify people with that and start. It has to be on certain clinical side of observation or deduction over a period of time. You see that, and if you really feel it is something that is a disorder or something, it has to qualify to become one. A simple a day of bad day or a good day should not mean that you have a disorder or something around it. So thank you, Dr. Ang, for at least putting that we should not use it casually, because it starts to put that stigma on people. And if it lands up for a longer period of time, it really becomes difficult to fight that out. So with that, I will go to Anil sir. Anil sir, you have more than 5,000 children in your school roaming around, right? Do you see these symptoms in teenagers, or do your parents or the teachers come to you, and do you see that are more visible now, and or you are able to define that certain people have that, certain kids have that issues already? Are you able to define that, or teachers are trained to define that in some way? How do you categorize them as a general student to a need help student? Let's assume around it.
CK, in order to answer your question, basically, I feel like making a slight preamble, if you permit me. And that is, I had been a student of Bhagavad Gita very early in my life. And that is when I was in 6th standard, my teacher told me to recite the Gita Sar on the All India Radio. That is time, Akashvani, we call it in India, right? And I'll quote two stanzas of that, which I learned by heart, and they are there with me even today. And they are, क्यों व्यर्थ चिंता करते हो, किससे व्यर्थ डरते हो, कौन तुम्हें मार सकता है, आत्मा ना पैदा होती है ना मरती है. So let me translate this for each one of you. It says, why do you worry? क्यों व्यर्थ चिंता करते हो, किससे व्यर्थ डरते हो? Who can kill you? Nobody can. Because you are not you, it's the soul, and soul is eternal. Therefore, just relax yourself. So when I was in 6th standard, I had no idea what am I talking and what am I just reciting. No Atma, no soul, no question of all this around. But the big question which we are talking today, worry. Big question we are discussing today, worry. Kyun व्यर्थ चिंता करते हो? Chinta is worry. The second one, which shaped my life later, is again from the same, which I recited when I was in 6th standard. तुम क्या लाए थे जो तुमने खो दिया? जो लिया यहीं से लिया, जो दिया यहीं पर दिया. तुम भूत का पश्चाताप ना करो, भविष्य की चिंता ना करो, वर्तमान चल ही रहा है. It finishes all. It says, what have you brought when you were born? What have you brought along with you? Nothing. What will you carry? Nothing. So all that, what you have in you is, if you worry about what is there in the past and what will happen in future, you will keep worrying and you will be anxious. You will be in a dilapidated state. Else, enjoy the moment. Be in the present. That's what Bhagavad Gita shaped me from 6th standard. Now coming down to what your question is like 5,000 kids, and today's parent is definitely far more evolved. Today's children are far more evolved. They are mentally are at a higher pedestal, I believe, after observing them for quite a long period of time now. It is 33 years I'm directly handling children. And looking at them, when we talk the way Dr. Ang has said, is a standard nursery child walks up to me saying, I'm getting bored. an age 3 nursery child, if he says that I'm getting bored, what does it mean? That means how loosely we have used those terms or how ineffectively we have engaged children.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about the youngest one.
Yes.
As it grows, as we become adult and all over a period of time, in the meantime, we have teenage and all that. All these questions keep coming in the mind of the children. And they are not yet developed brains. So they are bound to question. The way I said, I didn't know the meaning of even a single word of what I recited on All India Radio at that time. But today, if you ask me, I am very happy with those words. So whenever I'm in stress, I'll say, what I brought with myself, nothing. What I will take with myself, nothing. Oh, I am happy. So it's like
happiness quotient becomes important.
Correct. So the broad idea is that how we actually develop at an early age the insights in the children makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely.
And the way Dr. Anga said, how loosely we use these terms, obviously they will create disturbances in the mind of children.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
I'm actually speaking, I'm just getting every single day the things what you're saying. Oh, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I really don't know what will I do in my life. It's like, what are these questions? Live the moment, Baba. You're playing basketball, enjoy the basketball. You're playing hockey, play hockey. And you're studying math, study. If you don't want to study, forget it. It's like, that's how it has to be lived.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I think the things that we should feel passionate about is how do we make ourselves more happier and not worry about the worries that we have. With that, I will go to Asya. Her name is Asya, basis of, her father named her Asya, think from her poet, right? If I remember poetry that he has written. And you really define what our countries are, right? So Asya, I'm just curious to know that you heard about the younger age of kids having that anxiety. You handle a lot of people from professional backgrounds. You're coaching people at a very, very high. Do you think while you're attending to them or you're in your conversation, do you realize that there is a lot of which is at an early stage, or it is something which just comes at a professional stage? What is your read? Is it something we can fix? How you fix it, and how do you fix it in a way?
Yes, thank you for this question. First, I want to just highlight on what Dr. Om said and Mr. Anil about the awareness, hiring the awareness from early age, and having the kids differentiate between emotions, between what is sadness, anger, depression, or I'm not having all these words in one word. And validate their emotions and let them being heard and having some compassion towards them. Yes, I actually, when I have a client that comes with anxiety and stress, or they say they're depressed, I do first an assessment, because there's a clinical depression and anxiety that cannot be treated by me or cannot be coached, which after the assessment, I can know through their sleep patterns, their thoughts, is there a suicidal behavior? Is there a traumatic issue that needs a therapist and not a coach? Or is there a level of anxiety or depression that is that can be treated through mindset, a growth mindset and fixed mindset? So what I want to say here is after the assessment, I will direct my clients either to go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, or we can start our journey together. Will they be treated? Yes, because then we will work on the thoughts, the pattern between the thoughts and emotion, how do you have it in your body, and then the behavior. So we start hiring the awareness of the client about their thoughts, what's happening in there, what's their mindset telling them, I'm not good enough, I'm pressured, I can't do this, I'm ugly, I'm not confident. All these thoughts create a certain emotion, and this emotion has a location in our body. So we need also to process this, to acknowledge this emotion, to let it be heard. And afterwards, We don't fight these emotions. We don't fight these thoughts. We will just connect them to their empathy, their compassion about themselves, their creativity, their potential, and just push them forward towards what they really are,
yeah.
they really want to be.
Got it.
With kids is different because you know you need to it depends on the age. So when we talk about kids, we need to define which age are we talking about. This process needs also to have trust, to have an open space, to have confidentiality, and to make them feel, hey, you are here and you are being heard, and we care for you, we support you.
Absolutely.
One more thing, I will just end this, and then
Yep.
because Mr. Anil said about like being in the present moment. So many clients come to me like they want to be in the present moment, they want to live it, but they can't. So I wish it were magic like this, like I want to do it and then it happens. It's just a process sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're lucky the ones who can do it.
Absolutely. Actually, I think you brought a very good point between Dr. Ang and Alil. They said, one, it is very misrepresented, the word itself. Awareness is limited. People are taking it very lightly or use it in a wrong connotation altogether. With you analyze, you do the right processing, even if it's a business for you at times, you would still feel it requires experts to come in, and it requires someone to come in and step in for someone to evaluate. And then there could be a clinical side of it, there could be a motivational side of it. I would jump to Shubham now, and then to Natasha, and then Jaya again. Shubham, you've been doing a lot of work with the national engagement, which is with the Atal Innovation Mission, and you've put in so much of effort in doing at early stage of entrepreneurships between the kids, right? Doing that revamp of how schools used to sound like, or how school used to be like, right before. Do you see your impact of that, what you're doing today, and what do you think as a leader in terms of transformational technologies that you bring in would make a real impact on kids or their mindset?
Yeah. Thank you, CK. I guess, first of all, this is a perfect panel to have this discussion, right from the experienced Dr. Ong, Mr. Anil, to Asia, Natasha, to me, and then to Jaya. I guess they all bring in their own perspective. So thank you for having me. At the national level, and I guess with the age what we are dealing in, right from the students which we are talking about, I guess it's important to know the historical context too, where we are coming from. So probably when we were talking about these key, okay, for example, let's take Mr. Anil's case. When a student of age 3 like asking the questions like "मैं बोर हो रहा हूँ," it would be like at that time, at the probably in the 1930s, 1940s, it would be like कि okay, तो क्या हुआ, जाइए खेलिए, ठीक है. But now in this real context as of today, it would be कि okay, is my child anxious, is my child depressed? Maybe the transitional shift from the national level, or you can say कि okay, from the parent side to the educator side, has been grown significantly, and now it's being used as a technical term rather than it would be a loosely used term at that point of time. It may be as a thrown away term कि okay, क्या ही होगा इस छोटे से बच्चे को, what would happen to this small child. But now it's taken as a serious note of
Serious
it.
part,
Okay,
yes.
it can happen to a 3-year-old child too. So and to our utter surprise, the national mental health policy from Indian government has been introduced in 2015. Can you imagine? It's being 65 years of independence, and still it's been 2015 when we have realized okay, there is a need to introduce a policy at the national level for the mental health. Coming on to what we do is like, okay, now the students of this age is seeking towards a transformational journey, complexities of the modern world. They are learning okay, what are the new technologies coming on to. probably a shift from what they just learn as a theoretical experience to what they do with the hands-on experience, making a difference. It's not like, okay, I have a huge set of books with me, I have to just rote learn it and have to go away with and spell it out in my exam. It's not like that right away. It's
Right.
like, okay, just go to a space, a maker space, a lab, just do some bits of hand-on, and that also brings some curiosity part of students to deal with. And it shouldn't be linked with ki, okay, if students is asking too many questions, it can be a curiosity rather than an anxiety. So it's
I got
it's
it. Correct.
complex term. It's not like a very easy to crack. It's not like ki, okay, every other child is like anxious, every other child is depressed. It can be a curiosity, it can be a different thing. So yeah, I guess that's where we all are as an
Absolutely.
expertise, as a speaker ki, okay, where that thin line, or I can say a thick line, to be drawn into how to understand your children is the important thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks. Shubha. I think the point is very clear that, again, everyone's saying the same stuff in a different way. But I'm going to go to Natasha. Natasha, you handle people in your academy from every possible age. At one time, I remember it, maybe this time as well, a lot of people do what they do is for their recreation, or some will do it for an academic purpose, right? If it is music, it was always taken as an extracurricular activity. It was always not the core of what you do in your life. It would always be something, an extra, or only few people would say, oh, okay, you're learning something, right? But now do you see a transformation in people? One, I would want to understand from the point of view that is it taken as a core feeling that I love music, and you see that incremental thought? And second question is does it really, you see people with different abilities coming to you, and reaching out to you and say, look, I'm doing this because probably I feel something is not, in my way of life, the way I feel towards it, and I would want to change or transform it by learning music. How do you feel it today?
Yes, so thank you very much, first of all, for having me here. It's really wonderful to be part of this discussion. And I actually agree with all speakers. And whatever I say, it will be the same, but just from a perspective of a professional musician. So your question, is everyone love music? Not at all. It's difficult to love music because so many things happening in music. Music is actually like life. And if we learn how to deal with music and with stage performance, that will help us in real life. So I feel that is the most important that we take from music. And there are so many ways to use music as a tool. So we can just listen and find some style of music that we enjoy. And when we're sad or we even anxious or depressed, we always can find music, classical or heavy metal or something else. Then to learn music, see, most of people today speak about children, but in my case, I have 80 years old a student who is also my kid, right? So people continue learning all through their lives. And of course, we're focusing on children, but learning music actually helps on so many levels, because in music, we don't have to describe what is this, what we worry about. We can just connect our emotion to that. So I would not say that it is something that people take just as academics, or someone wants to become professional musician. Most of my students whom I meet, they take it because it's like air, it's like water, it's just what they need in their life to stay balanced. And there are so many ways to connect and make music useful. For example, even for kids who study music practice routine itself, it makes their time more organized. Then managing stage fright. Many kids, they are scared to go and perform. So we have some advice and tricks that we use that can help them overcome that anxiety. So whenever they face the difficult situation in life, they just remember how they felt in the concert and how they managed it, and it will be easier. Yes. Then also it is very important for teachers to know how to plan program and musical development, because many teachers, even in the country where I'm coming from, in our system, or here in India, many parents, they focused on exams. They think that learning music is clearing exams and reaching some grade 8 or diploma level, but it is actually not at all that. We need to adjust and adapt our plan for each student. It's like a huge world. There are so many composers. So we should never give to our students task or piece which is more difficult than he can handle. So there will be much less tension. He always will feel powerful that he can complete this task in some shorter time, in 1 week, and he will feel happy. So I agree with that we need to look for that, someone else said before, for that happiness. So we should not stress out about something. Okay, in school, maybe they have to get some good marks, but music, we can have so much more freedom and actually help people.
Absolutely. Thanks, Natasha. I think very well put all across. Now I come to the legend in the room. Jaya, you're my favorite, you know that, right? So let's start with you. Really, do you feel depression and anxiety exist in your peer group? You're 14 today, right? And you've yourself taken so much pressure on life. Is it pressure, first of all? Is it stress so much? Or you do it for fun? And do you see around you, your colleagues, your friends, and when you were growing up, did you see this as a chronic problem or anything around it? And how did you respond to it? How do you guys still today respond to it as well?
Okay, first of all, thank you, sir, for the warm welcome and the introduction. And it's an absolute honor to speak in front of all of you about a topic that holds utmost importance when shaping the future of India. Now, let me address the first question. I feel that you do not take stress when you have the drive within you to do something that you love. Now, when I talk about entrepreneurship or change-making initiatives, that is something that comes from within, and that's something that I want to do. And if you're being forced to do something, like, students of my class or my peers are being forced to give competitive exams that they do not want to do, it is not their own interest. And this also, results in, as you already mentioned, anxiety and depression. And if I take the topic of casual terms, nowadays, social media jokes and conversations between teenagers are also resulting in the use of casual terms like, hey, I have anxiety, I have depression, or things like that. But I also read in a magazine that this can also be positive. I've learned that speaking about mental health issues or OCD or ADHD or anxiety or depression can also result in awareness. Of course, we should use it in the right terms, but or not as layman's language. We should also, build awareness. And now we are talking about anxiety and depression because we know about it and we've heard people talk about it. But our grandparents or our parents were not that vocal about it. It's not like they did not have anxiety or depression, but they were not very vocal about it. And there was a lot of stigma and stereotypes around that, about speaking about mental health issues or psychological topics. Now, when I talk about intervention about students being depressed or under anxiety, intervention is very important in today's generation. As I already told you, Gen Z is very vocal about everything they do. They will not tolerate inequality or pressure, and they will speak about it. They will actually stand up for themselves and their peers and address these issues to find a solution that can benefit the whole generation. Now, intervention is very important and as early as possible. Now, when we diagnose something at a very early age, it is easy to prevent the escalation of that particular issue. And when it comes to diagnosis, it is important to foster a very, good environment, which is open and non-judgmental, where children can share their emotions with, a trusted adult or peers or anyone, so that diagnosis is easy, communication is easy, and which results in good academic results or shaping a good future for yourself.
Brilliantly put, Jaya. I think you give a lot of insights to us that building trust is very important. Doing it, of course, in an environment which makes sense, and of course, not making you do stuff that you don't want to do. I think that's the first thing that we always have. We're trying to make our kids live our dreams, And that's where the problem starts to happen, or someone else's dreams, right? This is where we start putting. Dr. Rang, I would like to now ask you something, because I know this, you've told me before, but I still would want for the general audience to understand that these two special signs and recognition of these two lead to a larger impact in life, right? Towards self-harm, towards suicidal and stuff. How important is to detect this at an early stage, and how harmful it is if it is not solved? Do you have some data or something that you can speak about on this?
Right. Thanks, CK. I think you're referring to anxiety and depression. Yeah. So it is quite, indeed, quite alarming that in recent times, we have seen an uptick in the prevalence of anxiety and depression, likely contributed by what's going on around the world, the conflicts, the COVID pandemic. So we certainly need to acknowledge that psychosocial impact that it has on developing kids. Now, anxiety can occur as high as up to 9% in children and adolescents, whereas depression could inflict about close to 4 to, sometimes some papers even quote 8%. So you can see how extensive the reach of anxiety and depression on our youngsters nowadays. And research has certainly revealed that with higher anxiety, higher depression rates, they are risk factors for non-suicidal self-injury, or better known as self-harm, and even suicide attempts as well. For the young people, there is, I noticed in my own practice that, like what Jaya has said, there's an element of urgency, and they also want to have agency as well. And sometimes it becomes, when they meet roadblocks and when they have problems, it affects them quite significantly. And if they do not have the answers or solutions, they sometimes might engage in a lot of rumination, overthinking, and when they see that they don't have that the meaning of life, or they couldn't find a connection with the people around them, they could think about suicide as a way to really get out of this situation. So sometimes it's more than just depressed feelings or depressed mood, but there's also a lot of frustration, and disappointment that they harbor. So hence, that's why it's important for everybody here, you could be a doctor or psychologist or educator, a teacher, or principal, to really pick this up early, so that we could intervene early as well. And studies have shown that the outcomes are far better when you're able to have early intervention. Right? So yes, CK, you were saying?
No, I'm just agreeing to you and saying that this is two things that we realized within a half an hour span on our call today. That one, we take it something very lightly, which has a very everlasting impact on the lives of people, right? We speak it so casually around it, use it so irrelevant, but something which we believe could just be a stress or maybe just temporary, but we take it in such a easy way, and it has everlasting impact on lives of people by either they having self-harm or suicidal tendencies towards, if not attended at an early stage. I will go to Anil sir. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Rang first.
I just want to close my part here is that, so it behoves the adults, the caregivers and educators to really be able to discern and differentiate between the two groups of kids who are just experiencing normal reaction, be it adjustment or grief or normal sadness, and be able to tell them apart from those who really, really need help. Right? Yeah? So hence, as adults, we need to be educated and even trained to be able to pick this up.
Absolutely, got it.
From the children that we are meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fang. Anil sir, I have something very I would want to understand as a process within the school ecosystem. When you identify or teachers have identified, or even the parents would have come to you, right? How would you handle such a situation when you realize there is a identification made at an early stage, and how would you then process it within the education system? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute, sir. So please unmute yourself. Sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So a very precarious and a tricky situation, because when you have a large volume of kids like 5,000 odd, and ranging from 3 to 18, at times, rather most of the times, the problem is unique. We may categorize it as doctors, as specialists, as I'll say whatever we are basically dealing with in a certain basket. But as a matter of fact, the problem is primarily unique. And it has to be dealt with on a one-to-one basis, unique basis. Some things which are exactly common may work for a particular child. The same things may not work for the another child. So for a system which is so big, and for a system which basically India caters to, it's a tough challenge. Having said this, I'll say broadly, if the administration and the teachers are made aware of one small fundamental, that we need to accept children as what they are, who they are, and then making amends rather than going and jumping straight away to the issues which are of what level we are talking about. See, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a mental health specialist. So if I were to talk about what transpires in the brain, how the serotonin affects all this, I'm not getting into all that area, because that's a part which needs to be taken care of, like Asya said. So it's a separate domain. But in a school setup, most of the time, children, when the brain is at a developmental stage, you really don't know. Like, let me tell you a case in my school. It was maybe around 8 years ago. A child of class 1, a girl child of class prep at that time, perhaps, or 1, I'm not very sure right now. She is in 9th grade now at the same place with me. Said that it's something mischievous has been done to my child. The parent complained to me. And I need to inquire into it. Who is this fellow? What has been done? There are two ways to deal with it. One, I brush it aside. I say, it's impossible. We are a disciplined set of lot of people. Nothing can happen of that nature. The other is listening to the parent, giving due diligence to the norms and the set criteria. We said, okay, let's assume what the child is saying is correct. Because at that stage, if it is true, I have to make amend in the system. And if it is not true, then I have to make amend in the child. So for me, the whole system is taken care of. But having that understanding of this level makes a lot of difference. Now the issue, what we basically figured out later is, nothing happened to the child. It's only the brain getting developed over a period of time. She saw some dream that something of this sort has happened or is going around. And she made some remarks on her birthday to the parents. Parents now in a hype. Obviously, if I am a parent, I will also behave like that, maybe. But those who are not aware of this particular fact that, look, the developmental stages are to be dealt with in a slightly more subtle and a very finer details.
Absolutely.
So I'll say as a setup, it's a big challenge. And we basically deal as an institution one-on-one. And it's a, you have been helping us now very recently because we are the school, we have settled a particular cell for this mental health cell, wherein we not only talk about the mental health, we talk about behavior, we talk about so many other things. But broadly, I feel the term that we are referring today, that is stress and all, it's what Dr. Fang mentioned from in the other seminar at that one stage. Positive stress is also important. One must understand that, the way Jaya said. Unless it is not there, we will not reach anywhere. So we must, and on the other hand, we must know what are the expectations. That's the cause. The real cause is expectations.
Got it.
So the child has expectations from within as well as from the atmosphere around and the surroundings around. Now that is the key which I feel is a big as a setup in the school, that what is the environment around the child, what is the likelihood that the child can be impressed upon by the others. And then there will be bullies, there will be like the one who is on the other side, on the receiving side of it. So you really have to have been like up at it, and in a setup like school, keeping this in mind that the brain is yet not developed, we have to be very, very guarded. And
absolutely agreed, sir. Absolutely agree. I think very well put in. One, keep an open mind. Always listen to both sides of the stories, not just one side. Don't believe. Trust the child as well, and find the real cause. As well as at many times we may have the problem where it started itself. So we could fix it at a right time and right place. Asha, I'm going to jump to you. You had a story about this about situation and depression and coming back with the anxiety and stuff, and then delivering a different life altogether, right? Would you want to share something around it that you've seen transformational changes with that? Yeah. You're on mute, Asha. Just press this. Yeah, you're good.
Yes, of course. I want to also acknowledge what Dr. Anil said about the brain development. The brain of the children are still like really not like how much are they developed? And sometimes they do it to get attention. Sometimes they do this to get, you don't know the reason behind it. So there is so many communication need to be set with the kids to just know what's going on in there. But about the story, I will not mention a real story, but what happens usually with the clients is when they have kind of anxiety or depression at a certain level, of course, not a medical level that needs to have a therapist. You find that they have lack of joy, lack of purpose, what Dr. Ong said. Social life is not so interactive, so they are a little bit withdrawn. They have many negative thoughts, overthinking, lack of sleep because they get up and they have also some thoughts coming to them and then sleep again and then. So this is how we start building the roadmap together. It depends on the client. When I start connecting them to their purpose in life, what's their mission, their purpose, and when I say purpose, it's not their goal, their career goal. They can be having a career, or they can be students but connecting them to their values, to their passion, to their purpose, and knowing their values. So important to know what they have for values. What's triggering this? What's the trigger behind the emotions in there? Because they have unhonored values, unheard values. Connecting them to the joy in their life. Baby steps. It's not a jump like, hey, you're gonna jump. It's baby steps. I tell them, be gentle on yourself. It's baby steps. Let's start with this action or this reflection. And then commitment together, accountability together is very important. Checking with them what's happening. Also, like values, purpose, joy in life. There's so much important thing in knowing their core, knowing what they are inside, their values.
To bring out that with the connections, yes. Perfect.
Yeah, potential and compassion. But I want to also say something. All these like anxiety, whether in children, whether in adults. In adults, it's sometimes untreated anxiety and untreated depression since they were kids, and then they
reach to that.
They have it. And with kids, it's because of lack of communications with their parents or their teachers, pressure on having grades. Not for example, what Natalia said. I can share my story with my daughter. Like I started with her doing piano and many things So for her to know what she loves, what's her passion. So I started to, when she was 3 years old, to have her do painting, piano here, dancing, gymnastics, just to know where's her passion. When you connect the kid from their early childhood to their passion, then they feel content. Then they start
in achieving
doing
what they want to do.
actions from within themselves, not because their parents want them to do this. And she told me, Natalia, about like not everyone loves music. So one time when she was 5, every time the teacher was coming, she was saying, when are you going? And she closes the door. Like she was 3.5. So I knew piano or music is not her thing. When she was 5, I took her to gymnastics. And then she said to me, this is my life. She was 5 years old. This is where I want to be, Mama. This is my life. I don't want to do piano anymore. I'm not a music
So
kid.
it's good to identify at a very early stage what you want to achieve.
She said, I'm not a music kid. I'm a sports kid. And since then, she's committed herself. I don't force her to go 4 times a week to gymnastics while doing her homework, 4 hours each time. She goes 16 hours to gymnastics. Not
I think
forcing
it's a
her,
great learning for parents on the call today.
not pushing her. It's
Yeah.
just because she loves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ashia. I think I'll come to Shubham here. Shubham, another thing that I really feel that we've, like what you mentioned, I just want to bring you back to that topic you said. 2015, we had our mental health policy, right? Around something around that. Singapore also this year launched the 2030 mental health policy. Dr. Ong, you've seen that come out, right? So I think, have you seen that there is a focus on mental health now nationally when you're on the other side of the government, right? You would see that there is a recognition. I don't know how many of you are aware, but Singapore, 50,000 cases last week for COVID, but we're still okay. Everybody is still okay. 50,000, 15,000 last 2 years back would mean grounding in your home with mask and not coming out. Last week, we hit 50,000 as peak. India, I know nobody's testing at all, so we don't know the real numbers. So, but if you look at that from what we have gone through in our lives, do you see that the national policy, education especially, should be taking a more curriculum approach to a mental health rather than, we talk about academics, we sorted. Academics, I think India and everywhere in the world is sorted. They all know how to study, how to. Sports also, it's sponsored so well, money making, everybody's sorted. But if both of them are backed by someone's mental strength, right? You can't deliver both these if you're not mentally fit to deliver it. So do you think that the policy should be more bringing into the society, more activating these, communication as well as making it rather than just being a policy somewhere and not being deployed? Do you think that should how do you think it should shape up as well?
Yeah. I guess very interesting point you have put in, CK. I guess it starts from my home itself. I will come on to the government. Yeah, means if yesterday I just told my parents ki, okay, I would be delivering a webinar on the topic of mental health well-being of child. It was like, okay, you are not working in this space. How can you deliver it's this the topic? So I was like, okay, it's like an integrated thing. Yeah, it's not like, okay, you need a very specialized kind of a thing to actually discuss this. It's like, at least I will take some key takeaways, can just implement in my own self. Now coming on to the government has that capability at least to reach the scale. So whatever we are talking about right now with 2,000, 3,000 odd audience, what we can do as a policy level, if we can just include the whole curriculum approach, whole pedagogy approach, integrate into the school curriculum. I must appreciate Mr. Anil, what he is doing. Like, he has a specialized cell for mental health. I mean, it's wow. It means for us, where I'm living in a very small, distant village, the school, it means, can't imagine to have it a mental health, a cell dedicated for the students. So yeah, I guess if those policymakers, laws makers can sit together, have some educators like Mr. Anil, health experts like Dr. Ong can sit together and make a policy, integrated policy into the school curriculum. Let's discuss. Let's not stigmatize these kind of discussions. Let's not just say ki, okay, you are not anxious, you are not depressed as a just a throwaway term.
Absolutely.
You have to have some modules, you have to have some discussions, you have to have some these kind of webinars right from that early age, so that at least students also get to know ki, okay, it's not like ki, every other day I would be saying, oh my god, that that I'm depressed, teacher, I am depressed. It's like they have to be understood, and for the educators too, they have to understand ki, okay, how they can design their own pedagogy, how can be they more hands on, how can be they more experiential learning based programs. So I guess this is how we can do it.
I absolutely agree. So a very valid point. It needs an integrated support system. We've started something. We've started something very unique. Whenever we do a platform like this, we get people from around different dynamics altogether and bring them to. I think a government needs to also prepare something like this where it allows different society to influence the mental health and being brought into a curriculum. It's mandatory these days. I think we're ignoring it or we are just keeping it away. Someone will solve it someday, but we're doing our bits. And with that, I come to Natasha again. Natasha, you said they're all your kids, right? They're all studying under you. They're all children, 80 to 20, 20 to 10. Everyone is your kid, right? How do you, in situations where you identify that even while learning, they would have anxiety and they would not be some of it coming to the speed. They would have some disorder or disability or in terms of differently variable, right? How would you react to it? What do you do? And how do you communicate that? And I know you're very soft spoken. You're very motherly like to all of them. But there would be a measure needed, right, to tackle it beyond you. Like Asha said, she goes to this. Do you see that kind of students, first of all, coming to you? And
Yes,
if they
definitely.
do, and how do you
Definitely.
react to it? How do you handle them?
Yes, thank you for question. So first of all, I play with them. So we can explain, we can say everything in words, we can tell them what to do. But when you play the most anxious kid or student, they don't pay so much attention. They listen to beautiful music. Plus, the part that they're playing can be very simple, but result of what we are doing together can be really great. So very often we don't even start discussing. I say, okay, left hand for you, right hand for me, we play together. And second, also, the thing, we don't hide from anxiety and difficulties and unhappiness in music, we embrace it. So when we have some kid or student for whom whatever he's playing or doing is challenging, or he has to go and perform on stage and he's scared, or he has that stage fright, we never tell him, don't be scared. It's not possible. You're scared. You cannot just stop being scared. Okay, you're nervous. Just go and play. Play when you're nervous. You sad, you anxious, maybe you're depressed. Go and compose something. Find the ugliest chord that you can find on piano and play it and express and play the loudest sound, the ugliest. Because the most dissonant and ugly chord at the end of your piece of phrase always will come to some piece and some consonant sound. Brilliant. So this is basic things. So we are not trying to invent something which is not natural. Life is full of different colors and emotions, and same music. We are not trying to be happy in music. If you ask any professional musician, are you happy? Do you love music? It's difficult to love. You live music. So there's so many components. It's not just about love and happiness.
Thank you. You really explained well. One, embrace what you're feeling, okay? Embrace that there is something, and then you are able to react to it in the right way or handle it appropriately. Jay, I would come to you now. You have colleagues who are parents who would come up and say, look at Jaya, right? She's doing so well, she's doing this. And your friends, which are bestest of friends, may not be as close to what you are, or may not be. And it could lead to some kind of differences between the relationship or stuff like that. And also you would yourself identify that there is a different way of someone handling a situation or a passion, right? Do you feel that in your circumstances, you faced people, you've seen your friends going through this anxiety and or depression, and how do you respond to it? How do you as an individual? Not, I know what you've said about it, that we should tackle it early, parents should listen to it. You guys voice it more. I think Z generation, or what do you call it? So how do your generation comes to your own people around? I'm not talking about the technology side of it. How do you react to it? How do you handle it when your friend is coming to you with that, or you see a friend with that kind of situation or symptoms?
Okay, so am I audible?
You are.
Okay.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Yes. So as I talk about people comparing themselves to me, I feel that people almost sense a kind of ego or attitude issues with people who are actually very humble or grounded or down to earth. Now, if we talk about the root cause of this, it's just expectations from, as someone already said, from themselves and parents or external sources. The root cause can be anything, lots of ways. It can be studies or academics, extracurriculars, or even social media. Social media has skyrocketed in the past decade, and it leads to body image issues. People are posting things that do not align with who they are, getting filters and just glorifying themselves on social media. There's body image issues, there's self-doubt, there's lots of comparison. Now, if I see competitions as a core fundamental, any competition for that matter, it can be academics or competitive exams, or competitions where you showcase your talent. It was supposed to be about showcasing and learning along the way. If there is no learning from a competition, I think it is of no use, absolutely. Now, if you go up to a kid in my class and ask, tell me the one important thing about competitions, the standard answer you will get is winning. So most of them just care about winning, and that will lead to a lot of stress. Now, as ma'am already said, we need to embrace the difficulties along the way, the obstacles, the comparison, and everything. We need to, and the butterflies in our stomach before going on stage to pitch our product on stage, anything. So we need to embrace all of these things, but it is important not to glorify this. Glorifying ego issues, glorifying comparison or stress, it is not the way. You can, of course, embrace the difficult. Everybody faces difficulties or obstacles along the way. We need to embrace and take the challenge upon ourselves to overcome these. And at some point, we'll be confident about what we're doing, why we're doing this, and how we want to do it. And the people around me, they're more comfortable in talking to people of their own age group and their own standard. So if you talk about the standard, it's who you match with, who your vibe matches with a few people, the wavelength, if we talk about, they do not want to go up to their educators or their principals or their teachers and say, I'm depressed. They will go up to their friends and sometimes joke about depression or anxiety and talk about how they are facing problems, to come on a common ground and talk about the solutions also. So most of them will not go to their parents or educators. That is why I previously said that we need to foster an environment where people can come up to their parents or teachers and talk about it, not just their peers. So
very well said, Jay. I think I believe every word you said. Everyone was nodding in the room. You could see it. Everyone was smiling and saying, Jay is right. I do believe a very open environment can only bring out what you find difficulties is. Otherwise, if there is always going to be a wish or a outcome-based conversation, if you have with your kid, it's always going to lead to some anxiety, some depression, and some, either you would be depressed or the kid would be, because someone's expectation won't be met, because you're throwing your own wishes on them and they're throwing their wishes on you, and you don't realize that you're not being able to come on a common ground to have even a simple of conversation of just how was your day today, right? When the kid comes back home, you're supposed to speak, discuss, and find out from each other. So I think we've crossed our conversation time. I'm going to take some questions. I'm going to filled with massive questions. I'm going to filter some out one by one, and I will let you to raise hand and answer those. Okay. So this will be open house questions, but some are very, very interesting questions. I'll start with the first question. How do teachers help students reduce anxiety? Okay, and I'll leave it to Anil sir, because it may not be directed at you, but I think if you answer it well and they all accept it, then it's a policy, right? So
CK very well said, and I'm ready to take on. The
Yes, sir.
greatest teacher India has ever produced is called Chanakya. In the, I'll say, as of now, if we talk about 2,500 years in total. And he very categorically mentioned one thing. In order to learn, there are three ways. Either you learn from a top guru, or you learn through by way of being in a royal family and things are coming your way and you can manage. And the third he said is the best is peer education.
Peer education.
What you learn with your peer, you can never learn from anybody else. So what we are doing in our school is the students of class 12, they take classes in class 10. Students
Nice.
of class 11 take classes in class 9.
Very
Students
good.
of class 10, they take classes in class 8. As low as storytelling by the standard 4-5 children in nursery prep.
Oh, exactly like Jay is taking classes for national level today now.
Absolutely. So the idea is unless we bridge that gap, either by virtue of age, or by virtue of knowledge, or by virtue of understanding, or by virtue of intelligence, if we do not have a collaborative setup and we compete healthily, we will not be able to achieve this.
Brilliantly said, sir.
So the answer to this is compete with collaborative approach.
Brilliantly.
And because competition is inevitable, it is bound to happen. If two people are walking, one will walk fast, the other will be slow. So the competition is inevitable. So only thing is that you have to match up by way of collaboration, understanding each one's needs. That's how I feel teachers can play a vital role, assuming them to be one amongst themselves.
Brilliant, sir.
You will be surprised. In 33 years of my career, this very year, about 3 months ago, a child of class 2 walked up to me and complaining about another child. It's like funny, but not funny to the extent that we can brush it aside. This fellow is telling me, I was zapped with the question. He said, "Sir, this boy in the bus, we are traveling together, showed me the middle finger." Now, what this girl Jaya has mentioned just now, social media has skyrocketed it to the universe, out of the universe. Now, what answer with an experience of 33 years I have to that child? Because I really don't know what mental level that child is at. So I was trying to gauge from his body language. I was trying to gauge from his eyes. I was trying to gauge from all possible resources what I had at my disposal to find out, does it really lead to that kind of a situation that I need to intervene? Or, so after about, I'll say an assessment about 3-4 minutes, I said, look, if he has shown you the middle one, you show him all 5. Yeah. Relax yourself. So then he was like surprised. What am I saying? I told him, look, life is so simple. If he does it next time to you, you show him 5. And if he doesn't agree to you next time, walk back to me again. So you know my open door policy in the school. These children from nursery to 12, they just walk up to my room anytime.
Yes, I've seen it, and that's something that I really believe. As the question who I think Jay, so the similar name Jay, but not your from Bangalore has asked this question, and I really feel that having a very open door policy, that somebody can walk up to you, speak to you, having that trust that you're not interrupting me in my way of life, is something very needed. The second question again is coming from Mumbai. This is from Sristy. She's asked this question. And I think the right person to answer, but I'll still leave it to Dr. Ong to decide if he chooses to pass the question. Okay. But how do you identify early signs of depression in child?
Right, thanks for the question. Early signs. It can be, quite difficult actually, because you often, parents or teachers may suspect a child with early depression, but really don't know whether it is or not. I think it is important to look at what are the symptoms, how, like I said earlier, how severe they are. Are they affecting their academics, their social interactions, and their ability to do their daily routines and schedule, right? I usually go by all of this, and including the duration. I mean, if it's lasting more than 2 weeks, and I think I would be a little bit concerned. what I suggest is to have the parents have that conversation with the child, find a suitable time and space to do that. And also for parents, maybe to check in with the school, like with the teachers or the school counselors, whether they have noticed anything amiss in the child's behavior in the school, because most of our kids have spent almost a third of the day in school, so it is very possible for that school teachers may pick those symptoms up as well. I think without having that conversation, it is very hard to speculate, right? Yeah, but I think it'd be good to really just keep a lookout. Be observant, be sensitive. There might be some surrounding things that's happening, like the child failing a test or exam, or there's a breakup in a friendship. Those things could be could affect the child's emotional state. So look out for all these possible triggers or stressors, and then have that conversation with the child. And if you find that it's difficult to broach this topic, choose a moment whereby you guys are doing things together and you're relaxed, the child's relaxed. It could be playing a game or reading a storybook. It could be watching a TV program, and there might be some opportunities for you to ask the child to talk about how he feels about that program or that character in the program who's suffering some losses or feeling sad. And then that could be an entry point to have that kind of more in-depth conversation, right? So I believe that parents know their kids best. So you can find a way to really have and start the conversation with the kids. Thanks.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Wang. I think identifying or knowing your child is the first step. If you don't know your kid very well, that means you've not had the communication. You're not able to really read him well. Is a lack of information will never allow you to, be able to identify those causes. So
exactly.
Engage at a very regular moment with your kid. Have those conversations so that it's not just situational. And situational, like Jaya said, that you don't have a trust. They would go to their friends to speak to. So have that community connect, that you also speak to their friends like friends. So they come back to you, or the information comes to you if it is some kind of emergency. I would come to Asia now. Asia, there's a question which is very, very particularly about, something result of what has happened to my life. Okay, it could be something that there's a divorce in the family, or there is some external impact that I failed in something that I was trying to do. How in that situation, when somebody reaches out to you as a coach, as a mental, or kind of reach out to you for support, how do you help those people? And in a very short way, I know the curriculum could be longer, but how do you bring them through the journey? And what's your first few steps in really boosting their morale so that they are impacted by something which has happened, but they overcome it over a period of time? How do you work around it? It's not their own self, but it's something that has happened in the family. Let's say family is divorced, or the kid, some losses happened, or they failed in some way in life. And how do you bring them up?
Yes. Thank you. I will make it short. First, I need to identify what's happening. What is, if there's sadness, if there's grief, if there's anxiety, if there's depression, I need to identify it with them. Like, they need to just explain, what's this anxiety? What's this depression, this sadness? What's the grief that they're... And then we need to process emotions together. So what I do different than a therapist or a doctor in processing emotions, I use tools like coaching tools, such embodiment, like, where is this emotion in your body? How do you feel it? Does it have like some questions where they start connecting to their emotions? Because especially with cultures where emotions are not validated, where emotions are shamed sometimes, to speak about emotions. So I need to go with them, take permission even from them to go deeper in these emotions. If they don't want to go deeper in these emotions, then we have open questions together that will trigger some answers from them that take them deeper. So I go slowly, either slowly with people who don't want to express these emotions, or we go immediately with these tools to these emotions. After processing these emotions, then they feel more relieved. You can feel. I can ask them, how do you feel the pressure in your body? For example, a body assessment. Or a homework they take home, they come back with it, like what happened with this homework. Afterwards, it depends on the case, of course. We start with the what I said before, connecting them to their values, knowing their values, knowing their purpose, knowing again the joy in their life, or referring back to before the situation. So I will remind them, who were you before the situation? Their coping mechanism, are they using now coping mechanism or defensive mechanism? And then how did you manage to get out of such
situations before?
Yeah. So they remember their coping mechanism, they remember their tools themselves, and then we start building on that.
Absolutely, perfect. I think Parul had asked this question, and she was very worried about that. How do you console people to come out of their losses or their grievance? I think the process is slow. It doesn't fix like a switch on, switch off. It's not magic. It takes time. You have to work, listen, hear, and support. Here's a question again, Shubham. I'm going to throw this at you. If you think, do you really see that identification at an early stage puts the child at a stigma if it is not handled? I mean, I'm sure you believe that, but if the process, do you think at school level there should be some mechanism to handle such situation which Anil sir faces, or someone, because a lot of people may not be able to walk up to his room, right? And a lot of schools are not like his school, right? Which is fully trained. What do you think as a society we should be collaborating through the education system to transform our way? Because one you mentioned already, but is there something else that you think as innovative can bring to the table here?
Yeah. Important thing, because I think it's not easy as well. It's not like each school has a very set curriculum or a kind of a notes ki, okay, this is how mental health or kind of anxiety, depression being categorized as, because see, every child is special, every child is different, and each case has to be dealt differently. Probably what I would suggest as of my experience as of now, course for the team to start.
Shubham, you're breaking up a bit. You're breaking a bit, but I'll just reiterate what he said. He said training of teachers as one part. I think we lost Shubham on the connection side of it. So I'll
yeah. Am I good now?
Slightly better. You can switch off your video and try it. Maybe the bandwidth will become better. Just switch it. You're muted now. Yeah, unmute yourself, please, Shubham. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So probably to start with, as a starter, what I can suggest as of now is a foundational course for the teachers. Maybe some of the case studies can be given to them. Okay, these are the generic cases you may find in your day-to-day classroom, day-to-day activities, and probably as a starting point of it can be a foundational course for teachers. I guess others
Absolutely
can
right.
add to it.
Absolutely. Shubham, you're brilliant on that. I think we've started that movement. I believe people recognize us with that cinema, with training of teachers, but there's a lot to do. I would now leave the floor open for the panelists to ask Dr. Ang, because he's the special guest today. If you have any questions, Jaya, I'll start with you. Do you have any question for Dr. Ang from your side? We should not miss this opportunity of having him on the call, right? So you may please voice your question, concern, and let's have Dr. Ong answer it. It may be the same question. I can tell you hundreds and millions of people thinking about it at the time. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, in fact, I have a few questions ready for Dr. Ong. The first thing is that, can depression or anxiety be cured at home if it's at an early age? If yes, then at what stage should we actually go to a licensed professional and not cure it at home? Yes, that was me.
I think it's 100 million people question here. Everyone's asked the same question.
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
yeah. Thanks for the question. It's like, how long should one sit on it, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no right and wrong answer to this, right? As I want to iterate that sometimes you know yourself better, or sometimes parents know the child well enough, and if the initial approach doesn't work, and the child is still continuing to experience the very intrusive thinking or depressive mood symptoms, or basically faces an uphill task in just carrying out normal routines like getting out of bed or brushing your teeth, going to school, and always see a increasing trend towards school absenteeism or lack of motivation, I think that would be good enough for me to really reach out to at least have that conversation with the school. And in some schools do have what we call allied health professionals working among them, so like psychologists or behavioral therapists, so which you can tap on. You don't really necessarily need to see a psychiatrist because the depression may not be so severe, and certainly there's a long wait time to see a psychiatrist. So I think it is very possible for mild depression, I mean very mild depression, to subside with time if the child is able to access help and resources and get a lot of support from family, friends, and school, right? Yeah. For the moderate to severe cases are the one to really watch because they could deteriorate or escalate to clinical depression, and whereby sometimes just talking things out may not be helpful. All right, and this is where the role of antidepressant medication coupled with psychotherapy would play a bigger role in this case. And and if the child exhibits self-harming behavior on a repeated manner and even harbor suicidal thoughts, I think I think it is then probably good enough for me to really sound the alarm and actually get an early consult with a mental health professional, right? Again, it does, it need not be a psychiatrist, but at least someone who works professionally in the field of mental health, who can then escalate the case to the psychiatrist or the mental health facility, right? Yeah. So talk therapy works actually. In fact, I want the kids to talk more. So for mild cases, yeah, talk to people who can render support, but also sometimes the psychologists. In fact, for mild depression, talk therapy is the way to go actually. But when it becomes moderate to severe, this is when medication may have to come in, or a short-term hospitalization to reduce the suicide risk might be indicated. So it depends on the situation. Thanks.
We have just one more time, 1 minute for one more question. Anybody in the panel, raise your hand, wants to ask Dr. Ang a question, and I'll pass on the mic. Anybody else in the room asking a question? Otherwise, we go back to Jaya again. Jaya, you have another question ready for Dr. Ang?
I have a question for Natasha Ma.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. Go ahead.
Yes. So, does music actually help a depressed person find their passion and actually result in getting them out of depression, or just improving their condition by a percentage? Does it actually help?
Yes, definitely. So the best example is some composers. So if you actually listen to music, the most beautiful music is really sad and has very tragic character. And some composers, for example, German composer Robert Schumann, he died actually in psychiatric clinic, but his genius and music that he composed helped so many people and children and musicians and people who love music to cope with the emotion, because if you listen to that music, that all mixture of light and dark is there, right? So if there would be no music, of course, his life will be much more tough, because definitely he was mentally ill, and that helped